significantly as there was strong demand for European cars on the global market, but environmentalists became increasingly vocal. This was because internal combustion engines had become the main source of environmental pollution. A growing global population and improving financial conditions increased demand for cars annually. Although the environmental performance of the auto industry improved, this led to the production of millions of cars to meet global demand. Sales of European automakers were good until 2008. However, the global financial crisis of 2008-2009 put European automakers in a very difficult situation. The sharp decline in demand led to an industry-wide crisis, with plant closures, 8 in Europe between 2009 and 2013, and low capacity utilization, 32% idle in 2013. Production stagnated and some European brands struggled to survive, though Germany remained strong. However, the Chinese economy began operating at full capacity. Many global economies were weakening in the face of China's enormous size, while the European economy was also weakening. This inevitably impacted the automotive market. In China, environmental regulations for cars were relaxed. In Europe, by contrast, environmentalists began introducing stricter requirements. As a result, the following automotive standards emerged. Euro 1, 1992, the first environmental standard. The use of a catalytic converter has become mandatory. Start limiting CO, carbon monoxide, emissions. Euro 2, 1996, further reduction of harmful gas emissions. Stricter requirements for diesel and gasoline engines. Euro 3, 2000, cold exhaust emission control, development of engine technologies. Euro 4, 2005. NOx emissions have been significantly reduced. Air quality protection in the city has been strengthened. Euro 5, 2009. Diesel particulate filter, DPF, introduced for diesel vehicles. Particulate matter emission control. Euro 6, 2014, one of the strictest standards. NOx emissions have been dramatically reduced. AdBlue/SCR system has been widely implemented. These requirements required the use of complex digitally controlled filters. This inevitably impacted the cost of the cars. To meet these requirements, the car's power had to be reduced. This was not well received by car enthusiasts, as ordinary European drivers wanted cars with powerful engines capable of overtaking other cars. However, under the pressure of ever-increasing environmental regulations, creating such cars proved difficult. To maintain the power of their vehicles, European automakers began to focus more on diesel engines, which led to increased demand for modern diesel engines. This was due to the numerous advantages diesel engines offered. Fuel was cheaper. In Europe, diesel fuel was taxed less than gasoline for decades. Lower excise tax, lower price. Suitable for regular drivers and fleets. Cost savings became the main argument. Diesel is economical. Diesel engines consume 20 to 30% less fuel. They are more suitable for long trips and ideal for highways. In Europe, people drive a lot, so diesel engines are more fuel efficient. Environmentally friendly on paper. In the 1990s and 2000s, diesel was considered green. Lower CO2 emissions than gasoline. Better compliance with EU climate standards. NOx and soot were underestimated at the time. A technological breakthrough. With the advent of common rail diesel, engines became less noisy, more powerful, more comfortable. Old tractor diesel engines are a thing of the past. EU policy was on the side of diesel engines. EU incentivized diesel engines with tax breaks. While putting pressure on car manufacturers to reduce CO2 emissions, they turned a blind eye to NOx emissions until the 2010s. The manufacturers were simply following the rules. Diesel engines suited the European driving style. Very comfortable for frequent long-distance trips. The highways without speed limits were also convenient.
Diesel engines could easily travel long distances, 200,000 to 300,000 kilometers, without breakdowns. Diesel engines were ideal for such conditions. However, the biggest drawback of diesel fuel was that it emitted several times more nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere than gasoline engines. The reason for the low cost of diesel fuel was the high diesel content in crude oil. Gasoline 20 to 30%, diesel 25 to 35%. This situation was very popular in oil-producing countries as diesel prices were very low. European automakers produced cars with diesel engines both for Europe and the rest of the world. But in 2015, an unexpected event occurred in the European automotive industry. It could be said that this event marked the end of diesel vehicles in the European automotive industry. This event became one of the most infamous scandals in the European automotive industry, known as Dieselgate. Dieselgate is one of the largest environmental and corporate scandals in the automotive industry. What is Dieselgate? Dieselgate is a scandal exposed in 2015, primarily related to diesel vehicles of the Volkswagen Group. Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Skoda, and SEAT. The company used a special program or cheating device to falsify the environmental tests of its diesel vehicles. What kind of scam was this? The program installed in cars. Exhaust emissions were lower during laboratory tests, but when driving on the road, nitrogen oxide, NOx, emissions were 10 to 40 times higher than the norm. That is, the car passes the test, but in real life it pollutes the air heavily. Why is this dangerous? Nitrogen oxides, respiratory diseases, asthma, cardiovascular problems, causes air pollution. When and where was it discovered? 2015, USA. Discovered by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Later discovered in Europe and other countries. The consequences of these events had a profoundly negative impact on the European automotive industry, leading to a deterioration in the financial situation and reputation of the Volkswagen Group in particular. The result? Fines and compensations totaling more than $30 billion, recall of millions of cars, resignation of senior management, criminal liability of some managers. Volkswagen Group's reputation and financial situation did not improve. The most offensive thing is that car enthusiasts around the world trusted the Germans and respected German automakers. Dieselgate became for them a cold shower. Companies that used century-old reputation lost trust car enthusiasts. The European automotive industry, growth and change, 2015 to 2026. The period from 2015 to 2026 was one of the most crucial periods in the history of the European automotive industry. During this period, the industry faced environmental conflicts, tightening regulations, a technological revolution, and a transition to electric vehicles. 2015. The Dieselgate incident was a turning point. In 2015, the Dieselgate scandal erupted involving the Volkswagen Group. Diesel vehicles were found to be equipped with software that underestimated actual emissions during testing. Consequences? A sharp decline in confidence in diesel vehicles, billions of dollars in fines and financial losses, strengthening environmental control in the European Union, the beginning of the phase-out of diesel fuel in major European cities. Dieselgate symbolized the end of the diesel era in Europe. 2016 to 2019. Tightening environmental standards. During this period, the European Union introduced stricter standards, Euro 6D, WLTP tests, or real-world driving conditions. Manufacturers were forced to invest in environmental technologies, reduce CO2 emissions, develop hybrid models. During this period, the following brands were actively developing: Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Renault, Peugeot, Citroën, PSA. 2020 to 2021, pandemic and supply chain crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit the automotive industry hard. Temporary closure of factories, microchip shortage, decline in sales. However, the crisis has accelerated digitalization, online car sales, over-the-air software updates, and a growing interest in electric vehicles. 2022 to 2024 Electric Revolution. The European automotive industry has defined a strategic direction for the development of electric vehicles. Key trends: planned phase-out of internal combustion engines, investments in batteries and charging infrastructure, increased production of electric vehicles in Germany, France, and Scandinavia. Key EU decisions: ban on the sale of new cars with internal combustion engines from 2035, subsidies for the purchase of electric vehicles, development of green industry. 2025 to 2026, digitalization and autonomous technologies. By 2025 to 2026, the European automotive industry will focus on software-defined vehicles, cars as software platforms, semi-autonomous systems, ADAS Level 2 to 3, cooperation with IT companies, and reducing dependence on fossil fuels. Manufacturers are increasingly competing not only on hardware but also on software, artificial intelligence, and user experience. Key challenges for the industry. The European automotive industry faces a number of challenges: competition with China and the USA, high prices for electric vehicles, shortage of raw materials for batteries, and the need for retraining of personnel. The period 2015 to 2026 was a period of profound change for the European automotive industry. From the diesel scandal to electrification and digitalization, the industry transitioned from a crisis to technological renewal. Today, the European automotive industry is ecology, innovations, software solutions, sustainable development. The future of the industry is directly linked to electric vehicles, autonomous technologies, and the green economy. The years 2000 to 2015 were a very important stage in the development of the Chinese automotive industry. History of the development of the Chinese automotive industry 2000 to 2015. The period from 2000 to 2015 marked a decisive stage in the history of the Chinese automotive industry. During this time, China transformed itself from a country that assembled cars under foreign licenses into the world's largest automaker, developing its own brands and technological base. In the early 2000s, the Chinese automotive industry was in its infancy. Dominance of joint ventures, use of foreign platforms and engines, and beginning of orientation towards the domestic market. Due to the limited quality and safety of Chinese cars, China began to adopt foreign technologies, and in the following years, companies began to form large partnerships. SAIC Volkswagen, FAWK Volkswagen, Dongfeng Peugeot/Citroën, Beijing Hyundai. Cooperation allowed foreign companies to enter the Chinese market, which has a population of over 1 billion.